The Talksport Fan Network.
The ultimate on-demand destination for the UK's best fan-led football podcasts.
Want authentic supporter insight on all things Bournemouth? Follow Up the Cherries in all departments on the Talksport Fan Network.
Club-dedicated content created by the fans, for the fans.
Search Talksport Fan Network.
Welcome back to the show, all Cherries fans, and welcome all Manchester City fans as well. It is great to have you with us for this very, very special show. Now, before we get started, please hit the like, subscribe, and the bell button below. It does help this channel to grow. Now, of course, last time out, we played Aston Villa. This preview is recorded before the Villa game, so make of that what you will. But we are off to the Etihad. Never an easy place to go. The location of the former champions, now Manchester City. Pep Guardiola hasn't had the greatest of seasons, it's fair to say, but he could still walk away with a trophy. Of course, he beat us on the way getting there. Now, before I do welcome in my special guests, just a quick mention to our sponsors, Dental on the Banks. You can find them at dentalonthebanks.co.uk for all your dental needs. And also Touchpoint Telecoms, touchpointtelecoms.co.uk. Get in contact with Mark and the team for all your business telephone needs up and down the country. So, without further ado, it is a pleasure to welcome on another special guest. Now, this special guest is part of the band Cassia. He is a bassist in the band and has recently released a new album called Everyone Outside. So, it is a pleasure to welcome on from Cassia, Lou Cotterill. Welcome to the show, Lou. How are you doing, mate?
I'm good, mate. How are you?
Yes, very well. And thank you so much for joining us. What we'll do is we'll come on to your career and the band in a moment. And of course, the up and coming game against Manchester City away at the Etihad. Never an easy place to go. But let's talk about your love for Man City. When did it start? You grew up in Macclesfield, didn't you?
Yeah, I grew up in Macclesfield. My dad is massive Blue. He used to go to a lot of the games back in the sort of 70s and 80s. So yeah, I've got two brothers as well. The first one is a Man United fan, so that didn't go down well at all. And the second one came out, and he was an Arsenal fan. So yeah, I didn't have much. Yeah, very strange.
Yeah.
So yeah, I didn't really have much say in the matter, but I'm obviously over the moon that he forced me into it because, well, especially these last 10 years have been obviously a crazy experience for City fans. So yeah, and that's how it all started really. And then since then, you know, I've got to as many games as I possibly can. Obviously, it's been a bit more difficult since the band started with traveling and gigging and that sort of stuff. But yeah, that's pretty much it, man.
Fantastic. And who were your childhood heroes growing up?
Football wise?
Yes.
I would say, well, I was always Sean Wright-Phillips was like my guy growing up. I used to have the shirt, and because his name was so long, and my t-shirt was so small, it used to start at the bottom and go right round to the other side. So I loved Sean Wright-Phillips, and then so like there was like Nicholas and Elka. And Sean Goat. I had a Sean Goat t-shirt as well. So that was like the very, very early years. And then obviously we sort of went through that sort of transitional phase just before we got taken over. And we had sort of Stephen Ireland and players like that who I really looked up to because he was like carrying us at that stage. Shows how far we've come. Stephen Ireland was our poster boy for a bit. So yeah, I'd say them.
I'm guessing in your early days, you actually watched Man City in those troughs, really, where Man City has struggled at first, didn't they? Whereas Man United and Arsenal, like you mentioned there, have always been there at the top, at the pinnacle. Man City went through that terrible spell where they were relegated even into the third tier, and actually played AFC Bournemouth back then as well.
Yeah, really.
Yes.
Yeah, crazy. I was probably a few years before my time, but I
Hmm.
certainly remember sort of that period in the Premier League when it was sort of 16th, 17th. That would be classed as a good season.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just crazy to see how far the team's come in the last 15 years. And I know that obviously the money that's come into it and all that sort of stuff plays a factor. But for us as fans, like, we've just had the best time. And now you've got teams such as like Newcastle, Villa having their moment. And it's just great. I think it's great for the league to see these teams being able to, break in and challenge those top teams. That's what the Premier League should be, in my opinion. And Bournemouth, obviously yourselves this season, are having a great time with Iriola. And he's got you playing some really good stuff. And I think it's just better for the league that way, to be honest.
Definitely. But of course, Manchester City are a team that everybody is envious of. Quickly before we come on to your career, of course, it's not been the greatest of seasons this year, but Pep Guardiola. A lot of people turn around and say that with the money that he was given and the money he's had from the Emiratis, that anybody would make a success of that. But we've also seen across football that that's not always the case. What do you think has been Pep's secret to utilising the money that was given so well and getting those players in the right position?
I mean, it's tough to say. I think obviously he's a tactical genius. Like he is. You saw that with his Barca teams, as well as Bayern Munich. I mean, that he always gets the sort of messy thing thrown at him with Barcelona, and obviously he was, the best player in the world at the time. But you just got to watch those games, and I don't think there's ever been a better team since that Barcelona team of his. So yeah, I think obviously there's that side of it, but he just seems like a really good man manager. And like even the players that, are out the team for a few weeks, he still seems to have everyone on board. And when you're breeding that winning mentality, it feels as though the group, I don't know, it just feels like it's tight knit in there. When you watch the videos back, like the players look like they're all fighting for him, which is great. So yeah, I think that's probably the secret to it. But he fascinates me. I think he's a bit bonkers, like he's a bit crazy.
Yeah.
And I think you sort of need that, really. I think you see a lot of managers, a lot of the top managers now have that sort of craziness on the touchline and that intensity that I think breeds into the players. So yeah, I just think he's the best, personally.
To be honest, he's a manager that is difficult, as successful as he is. And of course, people that are successful, sometimes other clubs, other fans think, well, they bought their way to success. You can't not like him, and you can't not like the Man City story, because Man City have been down there. They're not one of the clubs that were bankrolled by the Premier League. I think that going back to when I started watching football, Man City, the Premier League wasn't made for Man City. It was made more for Man United. It was made more for Chelsea, Arsenal, those sort of teams. Whereas Man City coming through is actually, everybody's dream. But hey, nobody should begrudge City fans that. But I tell you what, let's come on to your career, because of course you are part of the band Cassia.
Yeah.
Let's talk about how that journey started. Well, when did you feel that you wanted to become a musician, Lou?
Yeah, so I think I grew up in quite a musical family. My grandparents were musicians. My parents were musicians. They played in sort of bands back in the day. And that sort of fed down to me and my siblings and cousins, and we were all just really into music. And I was probably more into sport myself, personally. I was super into football, played quite a lot of football growing up. So I was sort of heading down that route, really. But then, yeah, we just started a band, our family, and, you know, they were like, oh, I was like, can I join in? And they were like, yeah, you can play bass if you want. I was like, yeah, I'm sure I could pick that up and give it a go. So I started doing that and just started doing some lessons. And then obviously me and Rob, who's another member, who's the singer of the band, we met at school. And yeah, we were just making music together, and it was very organic, and there was like no pressure, no expectation. We both didn't go to university, so we were still in Macclesfield, and we were sort of like the two left, if as it were. So yeah, we were just making music, and then quite quickly we were just able to get gigs off the back of it, or in and around Manchester, and we got booked for festivals, and it all happened very, very quickly. So I never really had that time to process like, oh, is this what I want to do? I was just like, oh, we're doing it now. So yeah, that was crazy, really. And it's kind of been like that since. There's not really been a moment to stop, really. COVID obviously happened, but we spent the time writing an album in that period. So we've been fortunate, really, to be able to just continue doing it.
Fantastic. And of course, you have got a new album that has just been released as well. Everyone Outside. And do tell us a little bit more about the influences of that album. What prompted you to go with, and what sort of vibe is it compared to some of your older stuff as well?
Yeah, I think it's probably our most organic sounding album so far. I think we put a lot less pressure on the style and just more about sort of the feeling of it. And we saw some bands before we started the process out in Mexico. There's bands like Parcels and Jungle, and we're really inspired by them. They were able to create this like huge energetic sound that translated in like a very specific, like dusky festival atmosphere. And we thought that was really cool. So we were like, let's try to achieve something like that. Like that would be the dream slot for us to play like a sick festival somewhere abroad. Maybe the sun's going down and you just create this vibe. So yeah, I think from that we just wanted to sort of write festival bangers. That was kind of it. And it had this sort of feeling of being outside, which is where obviously the name sort of stems from a little bit. And the music's always been sort of an escape for us in the sense that, just like being from Macclesfield, it's quite rainy and cold. So we always try to write music that makes us like feel, I don't know, like we're in a sunnier environment. So I think that's sort of translated from the early albums as well. But yeah, man, I think that's it. It's just like uplifting, energetic music, and we got some more instruments as well, so that was quite fun to play with.
Well, of course, in 2018, you released your first album, Replica, and you know I've been listening to quite a few of the tunes on there as well, and they've done very, very well, both on streaming websites and also on YouTube as well. For example, Right There, Drifting, 100 Times Over as well, you know, have
Yeah.
done very, very well from that album. How do you think that your music has moved on from that first album? Do you feel that everything has, do you think it's matured, or do you feel that it's just the same vibe as before?
Yeah, I think it's definitely moved on. Like I say, the first album was pretty much written in a practice room. So it'd be the three of us literally coming up with ideas on the spot and just basically jamming it until it felt good.
Yes.
So that obviously like gives it a bit, I feel like Replica's got a bit more like a live feeling. And we were listening to a lot of like African music at that time. Because Rob's dad used to live in Zambia. So he used to bring loads of records back for Rob to listen to. And he got super inspired by all the sort of Afrobeat guitar stuff. And Jake similarly with the drums. And it just created this thing, I think, in Replica that we all really bought into. And there's bands such as like Vampire Weekend, who we were super inspired by, who sort of have done a similar thing in the past. I think like our music taste has grown, and our songwriting has matured in a way Yeah, like I say, I think the second two albums were more written in a studio in front of the speakers. And I think that gives it a different vibe in the sense that you can listen to it more, and be a bit more constructive and find where the parts are. I mean, but there's no right way of doing it. I don't think there's a real energy to Replica that I love. But I just feel like in terms of the recording and the songwriting, maybe in the last two records, it's come on a little bit, maybe. But I don't know. It's quite hard to be objective about your own music, but
No, it's absolutely fantastic. And we are going to listen to one of the tracks called Everyone Outside, and I'll play that for everybody now. Lou, that is from the new album, of course, same title as well, Everyone Outside. I know that before you were saying Macclesfield a bit rainy, but is it true that Replica was all recorded not so far away? And believe it or not, I was down there earlier on this week in Cheddar, but down the road from there in Bath. Is that correct?
Yeah, so Frome, the studio down there,
Okay.
that we recorded in. It was great. It was like the first sort of record deal that we'd signed at the time with a label called Distiller. And they had a studios down there, which was just an incredible facility. And we were definitely out of our depth. But luckily we had a guy called Matt Tate and a guy called Phil Parsons who were working on it with us at the time. And they were just so helpful and really experienced and just sort of put us at ease in a sense. So it didn't feel totally overwhelming for us because it was sort of going from our tiny little practice room in Macclesfield to then going to this studio that had pretty much everything at your disposal. It was quite hard getting used to that. But yeah, I think by the end of it, the experience was just incredible.
I know Frome quite well, actually, and I'm guessing, and I know that you probably played here, and actually the studios might actually even be here. But funny, I said Cheddar as well. The Cheese and Grain as well. I'm guessing you played there, haven't you?
I don't know if we have,
Oh,
doesn't ring any bells, to be honest with you.
No, it's one of the leading venues, of course. In Frome, or the leading venues in Somerset, according to their website. But yeah, I remember I've been there before a long time ago, mind. But yes,
yeah, never done that one. I don't think. Obviously, we do quite well in Bristol, so we sort of save that territory for Bristol and tend to do quite well down there. So.
Yeah, I think Bristol's a bit more bigger and impressive than Frome, to be honest. So, yeah, no, fair play to you. But you are going to be touring, and you are on tour at the moment, aren't you? And you are coming down to Southampton very soon.
That's right. Yeah, currently in Vienna. So
nice.
This is it's a day off today, which is nice. But it's our last show of the tour in Europe tomorrow.
Yes.
And then we head back to the UK for a UK run, and I think Southampton's on. I think it's Thursday or Friday next week. I think.
The 16th of May.
Yes, so that would be Friday.
Yes, I think it is actually.
Yeah.
I shall just double check. Yes, it is Friday the 16th of May. So guys, get your tickets, get down there as well, and go and support the guys as well, and some fantastic music. What is next on the agenda for Cassia?
Yeah, so like I say, we've got the UK leg, which will finish at the end of May, and then we've just got a few festivals over summer. It's not going to be anything like too crazy, but I think we've got about 5 or 6 festivals. We're doing Boardmasters at the end of August, I believe, which is down in Cornwall, which will be amazing. That's always a super cool festival. But yeah, I think we're all kind of motivated do some more writing and potentially get another album on the cards for next year, perhaps. Yeah.
Excellent. Good stuff. Good stuff. So, yeah, by all means, guys, get the album. It is in the comments below as well. And also go get your tickets as well, which are also in the description below, I should say. But I'll tell you what, let's come on to the game because it is a big game. And, well, actually, take it back one step. Let's do that because, of course, you possibly have a bigger game before AFC Bournemouth, and that is the FA Cup final as well. FA Cup final is the day when we should have been playing you against Crystal Palace. Let's be honest, it's not been the greatest of seasons. Why do
No.
you think that is, Lou?
Oh, it's hard to put your finger on it, really. It was bad early in the season. It was bad, but I think we've been able to turn it around. And if we can get top four and an FA Cup, then that's not looking like too bad of a season, really. But I think it's just I do think it was coming, perhaps. Just the strain on the players year in year out, doing 4 in a row. It's demanding, I think, mentally on the team. And obviously it's the same players. And I know in January we decided to invest and get a few more heads in. But I think it's maybe just taking its toll on those players a little bit. Everyone's getting a little bit older. You obviously got like De Bruyne, Bernardo Silva, Gundogan's back, players like this who have just been in that environment so long. And I think the way Pep is and how demanding he is, I think there must reach a point where maybe the message is a bit too much for the players, perhaps. Which is why I think we just maybe do need to just reshuffle and get some new players in. And I know that people are saying, "Oh, it's time for Pep to go," but I genuinely don't think that's the right way to go.
No,
because we're not going to get anyone better than Pep. So yeah, I think in the grand scheme of things, like I say, third and an FA Cup would be an incredible season in the circumstances of where we were earlier in the year. So fingers crossed the boys can get it done on Sunday. I think it's Sunday.
Yes, I think it is actually. Or is
it Saturday?
It is Saturday. Do you know what? All the days are just merging into one towards the end of the season, aren't they? But
exactly, yeah.
Of course, Rodri has been a massive, massive loss, and I've been asking this, to every City fan I've spoken to this season. But there is a likelihood he could well be back for this FA Cup final. How vital is he? And would you start him in that FA Cup final if he is ready?
No, I wouldn't. And I
Okay.
don't expect him to play. I just think after that much of a layoff, I don't think he's had any minutes so far.
No.
He's too important to rush back, in my opinion. And yeah, I just think he's probably the single biggest reason for the drop off, in amongst a lot of reasons. But I think, watching us with him and without him, he's the guy who makes us tick.
Yeah.
And I think it was great that he got the Ballon d'Or, because I think it was really cool to see a player like that being recognised for just how important he is to the team. And I think watching City this season, it's been obvious that he's been missing, and players have tried to do it and they just can't quite do it as well as he does it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't think it's worth the risk, in my opinion. I think we go at it with what we've got and try and get him back for maybe the Club World Cup at the end of the season. And if not that, just get him fresh for next year, because we need him back.
Well, fingers crossed to Rodri, and like I say, he's been the player that I pinpointed out that he just makes Man City tick in the centre. He controls the game, his passing, and he's like that glue. He's one of those players that, without him, he's just such a big loss, regardless of how good the City squad are.
Yeah, totally.
But going back to our game that we played, not the one at Dean Court earlier in the season, but the FA Cup game. How impressed were you with Bournemouth, and how concerned were you that City weren't going to get through that?
Yeah, was it the one? Did we go 1-0 down? Remind me.
Yes.
It was
Yes.
1-0 down, and then we got it back,
Mhm.
didn't we? 2-1.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I've been really impressed with Bournemouth all season.
Mhm.
I just think they're the type of team that we've really struggled against this season, in the sense that as soon as you've got energy and legs in and around the midfield and higher up the pitch as well, I think we really, really struggle. So I
Mhm.
could see it being quite a similar case again this weekend. Um, but I just think it's been so nice to see players like Clivert and Semenyo really sort of step
Mhm.
up this season. I think they've like really taken you to another level. But I mean, you'll probably know better. Do you think it's Iriola who's the guy who's making it all tick, or do you think the players have stepped up?
Iriola would be the biggest loss for me
Yeah,
at the
yeah,
end of the season if he goes. He's imposed a completely different style onto the side from what Gary O'Neill and Scott Parker had before. I was a big Gary O'Neill fan, but now looking back, you can see why the change was made. Um, and I think personally, his styles worked that high press. I didn't think it was going to, because the first 9 games of that season, we got beat 3-0 up at Goodison Park, and it was really, really, really poor, the mistakes we
yeah,
were making, but it all just clicked. It wasn't Iriola's style that I was concerned about back then. It was whether or not we had the players to actually fulfill that. But
mm,
he's a great manager, because what he's done is he's actually helped those players turn themselves into players that can play that way,
mm-hmm,
so to speak. So, yeah, it's very, very, very exciting, and he would be the biggest loss. But there is players in that squad, and I know that a couple of these have been linked with Manchester City. Dean Howson, of course, has been
mm,
linked with Real Madrid and City. Ilya Zabania has been linked with Manchester City. There's probably others. Hey,
yeah, yeah,
we might lose them. They might cause a bit of a hole in the team for a little period of time. But
yeah,
what Simon Francis and Silva have been doing is nothing. Sorry, Thiago Pinto have been doing is nothing short of impressive.
yeah. It's incredible, and I think the stand well, one of the standouts for me was Kirkes, the left back. I think he's really destined for the top, and I just hope you can keep hold of him because I'm hearing rumours about Liverpool being interested
Yes.
in him, which would not be good, I don't think, for the rest of the Premier League.
And
Um,
yeah, one of my mates, massive Liverpool fan, and thinks it's already done. But honestly,
really,
I don't think it is. I don't
no,
think it is. We don't have to sell
yeah,
if we don't want to. It is that balancing act of whether or not we keep a player who does want to go, who might be unhappy because we've stood in their way, or whether or not that player will give 110%. With some players, say for example, if it was Lewis Cook and you said, look, we want to retain you, we're keeping you here, and we reject all offers, then that, Lewis Cook, you'd expect him to carry on. It's whether or not these youngsters who are coming
mm,
in are as attached. They're not grown up as Bournemouth fans. They've come into this club. They're doing well for this club, and they might see it as a bit of a stepping stone as well. But
mm,
with Man City, looking at next season and looking at this match in particular, firstly, I'm guessing Pep Guardiola, and without a shadow of a doubt, he's going to go all out for that game against Crystal Palace at Wembley. Of course, our game is straight after that. Do you think that he will just completely rotate and rest players? Do you think the priority will be less on that Bournemouth game? Or do you think it will be a case of, look, we want to just finish strong, even if you do win the FA Cup?
yeah. I think it depends how it all plays out. I think obviously if we can get a win against Southampton, which you hope we would, that puts us in a really strong. That puts us in a really strong position then. So you could see more changes for the Bournemouth game, perhaps. But I think Pep, when he gets into this sort of mode of the season where he's like, I need to get these results done, he tends to pick his trusted ones.
Yeah.
So if he's obviously going to play the strongest team, he can against Palace to get that, to try and get the FA Cup. But I think if a result is really needed against Bournemouth, he'll just go again, I think, with the strongest team.
How much of a rebuild is needed in the summer? Because everybody talks about a rebuild needed. Is it as crucial as what everybody is making out?
I think there's definitely going to be areas that we need to improve. I think, again, it depends who we lose, because there's been rumours of sort of Bernardo Silva for years now, that he's sort of every summer it's he's going to leave and then he ends up staying. So we'll have to see what happens with him. Edison's another one who is rumoured he could potentially be off to Saudi. Obviously, we know De Bruyne's going, which is going to be a massive loss. So although it feels like we've really reshuffled the team this season, but I could probably see another 4 or 5 players coming in as well. I mean, like I say, getting Rodri back would be massive. I think getting Marmoush in was huge to take a bit of the pressure off Haaland, and he's been a revelation since he came in. I just think there's areas in defence we could probably use a little bit more strength in numbers. John Stones, I love him to bits, but he can't stay fit. Akanji's had one of those seasons where he's not been fit, and we've sort of relied on Guardiola and Diaz, which isn't bad. But if we could get a couple more in through the door, just to bolster those numbers at the back, I think that'll probably be the way we'll go. And I think a left back as well. We've been sort of crying out for an out and out left back for years now. So I could see that being an area that we sort of go for. But it's just interesting, man, because he's used Núñez at right back this season, which has been, I don't think anyone saw that coming. So it's not like Pep to go for that traditional fullback. So he may come up with another solution that we don't see coming next season. But yeah, we'll just have to wait and see, man.
Well, we do this with all of our guests, and I'm going to make it a little bit different. How do you think, firstly, the FA Cup final is going to go? But secondly, how do you think this game is going to go against Bournemouth?
Oh, final, man. Final's a final. I think our experience in these games will pull us through. If I was to make a prediction, Palace have been strong recently. I think I'd go. I think I'll go 2-1 City.
2-1 City. It's quite true what you say. Palace have been strong recently, but I think they've been selectively strong. I think, they really upped their game for that semi-final.
Yeah, incredible.
And it was, against Aston Villa, they just blew, it was unbelievable. I didn't see that coming at all. I thought Villa were going to go to Wembley and we're going to get through, and we was going to see a Man City Aston Villa final. So Crystal Palace have definitely got it in them, but hand on heart, I think Man City will be too strong. I think Palace will put up a fight though.
Yeah, totally.
And I've got to agree with you, 2-1, but I think it will be after extra time.
Could see that happening as well.
They will put up a battle, but more importantly, well, maybe not as more importantly for you, guys, because of course the FA Cup would be a great trophy. So you're all really drunk, you're all celebrating. Do you take your foot off the gas for Bournemouth? Yes or no? How do you think it's going to go, Lou?
Where are we? It's at the
it's at the Etihad, yeah.
I'm sorry, guys. I'm going for a home win. I'm gonna go 2-1 again. I like 2-1.
2-1. 2-1
But yeah.
City. Wow. I tell you what, I'm going to go one step back as well, because I'm going to actually predict that Southampton game. And I think you are going to go to St Mary's and absolutely annihilate them. Absolutely annihilate them. Of course, everybody, you are watching this after the Southampton game. I'm not editing it out. If I'm completely and utterly wrong, you can all laugh at me and giggle at me. But I think you are going to absolutely annihilate them. And I think it's possibly going to be about 7-0. You will
Ooh,
absolutely batter them.
that
I
is
think.
bold.
I,
Clip
I,
this.
I just think they're crap. Gotta be
Yeah,
honest.
yeah.
Our
Well,
friends down the M27 are naff.
the
But
table doesn't lie, does it?
you win the FA Cup, and then I actually think we might do the double over you as well as Arsenal.
Mm,
And the reason being is because there is going to be so much focus on that game, that FA Cup game. There is going to be that focus. I think the Southampton game, a week before, you would expect Man City to go into that, fresh and, on fire. Um, I think you'll beat them. I think you'll beat Crystal Palace. And then maybe some of those players will be rested, rotated, which will be great for us. All
yeah,
right, for a neutral, if a neutral wants to go and watch Erling Haaland and the top players at the Etihad, you might not see them against AFC Bournemouth. This is what I'm hoping anyway. Pep
mm,
might disappoint me with this. Years ago it used to be a case if Bournemouth ever got a top side, in an FA Cup, game, it would be like, I really hope the best players are playing and they don't
yeah,
rotate aside. Nowadays it's like, really hope City just drop, all their players,
yeah,
all the top performers, and we'll just have a nice easy day out for,
yeah,
you know,
yeah.
well, if that's possible at the Etihad. So I'm actually going to go the other way. I'm going to go with a 2-1 as well, but I'm going to go 2-1 to Bournemouth. I think we might do the double, but then again, I
Nice.
think we have to. I think we have to go to the Etihad and try and win, because of Europe. If we seriously want to get into Europe, we are going to have to make sure that we've got to try and win these 3 remaining games,
Yeah.
to
How's
stand
it?
a chance.
How's it stand at the minute? What are the? Do you need a certain amount of wins or?
So, of course, this is recorded before the Aston Villa game, everybody. So, just in case we do get beat by Villa, but we are in pole position thanks to that win over Arsenal. But we've got Brighton, we've got our arch enemies, in Brentford. Let's be honest, we can never beat them, and we've got Fulham right behind us. So,
Mm,
I think, we was discussing this the other day, and we reckon that 4 points, I don't think we'll do it. I think 5 points will do though, because we've got a better goal difference. So that's the sort of margins that we're talking. 5 will do goal difference, but I think we've got to just go into all of these games thinking, look, we're in pole position. We've got the destiny in our own hands. We've just got to keep winning. And if we can win, beat Villa, get a good result at the Etihad. Let's be honest, Leicester City shouldn't being the big word, hold
yeah.
any concerns for us. Then we should get our place in Europe, which will be a first ever. But it's
Yeah. I'm just looking at the table now. It's
there's
so
lots of
tight.
concerns.
It's so tight. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, 4 teams. Is it just eighth? Is it that will get the Conference League?
Yes, yeah, the Conference
Okay.
League. And this is,
Yeah.
I think a lot of this is thanks to, of course, thanks to English teams performing in Europe this season, but I think also it's thanks to other teams such as Chelsea. And I don't know whether or not the Spurs Manchester United final, you know, I actually think Spurs might actually win their first trophy.
Yeah, I do as
They
well.
might win their first trophy. In God knows how many. You watch all the Arsenal fans just unsubscribe from this channel now. I think they might win their first trophy for, I'm not even sure, how long. They must have had about 3-4 trophy cabinets by that time since they've last put anything in it. So yeah, um, we shall see. But it's so close. And how many points are you concerned that Man City could fall out of those Champions League places for next season, or do you think that's pretty much done and dusted?
I don't think it's done and dusted yet. I think we
Mm,
need we. I think we beat Southampton. We've got a very very strong chance. But Forest, I mean, that Forest have dropped off, haven't they?
they have, yeah.
They're down in 6th now. So yeah, I think we beat Southampton. I think it's more or less done. But then it just depends. Newcastle, Chelsea. I'm not sure who they're actually playing, but they're right on our tail. So it's still up for grabs. But it's top 5, isn't it? So
It is, yeah. It
I mean,
is,
I want 3rd. You know what I mean? I want 3rd. I
yeah,
don't want 5th. Is not good.
yeah.
Third is where I want, and even it'd be nice to catch Arsenal, but I don't know if that's going to happen. 3 points, 3 games left, could happen.
Well, it is possible. It is possible, and of course, we have helped you in that last weekend. But Lou, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on. Of course, you are coming to the end of the tour. You are in Southampton next Friday, so everybody get your tickets down below and also order the album. But you've been touring relentlessly for the past couple of years. Do you think you'll take a little bit of a break and then go on tour again? Is that the aim?
Yeah, I think so. I think just a short break is probably
Yeah.
needed after we went to America for the first time
Yes.
in March through April. So that was 3 weeks, and that was just 3 weeks of just meeting new people and probably having a little bit too much fun because it was our first time in America.
Mhm.
So I'm definitely feeling it now. Just gonna have to grind out the next 2 weeks, and then yeah, I've actually got a holiday booked at the end of May, so I'll be turning the phone off and getting on the beach somewhere.
Don't blame me at all, mate. Don't blame me at
Yeah,
all. But well, it has been a real pleasure to have you on the show, Lou. All the very best. Please wish all the best to the rest of the guys as well in the
yeah.
band. And yeah, no doubt, I think you'll probably win the FA Cup. And
Let's
yeah,
hope
we'll
so.
catch up next season.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks so much for having me on. It's been a pleasure.
Not a problem at all, Lou. It's been a pleasure. Thanks so much.
Nice one. Take care.
And thank you everybody for joining us. Hit the like, subscribe, and the bell button below. It helps the channel to grow. Do check out all of our previous interviews as well on here. Go onto the interview tab. That's the easiest way. Go onto the interview tab and scroll through and see what you'd like to watch, because there's loads of stuff for all you music lovers out there as well. Likewise, we will be doing our cherry picking show, as course, every week. And also we will be doing opposition previews. Got one more game to go after this against Leicester City. How will that pan out? Well, we shall see. It is the last home game. You know who's coming on. He's coming on again. From yeah, from Leicester till I die. Yeah, he'll be here. But until next one, thank you for joining us, and we shall see you soon.
The Talksport Fan Network.
The ultimate on-demand destination for the UK's best fan-led football podcasts.
Want authentic supporter insight on all things Bournemouth? Follow Up the Cherries in all departments on the Talksport Fan Network.
Club-dedicated content created by the fans, for the fans.
Search Talksport Fan Network.